He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife. Did she forge Netflix legal letter? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. You may recall that I recently commented upon and analysed the report that a chef called Jameson Stocks had criticised This One's Wife's With Love Meghan series. He called it terrible and hard to watch, and he claims he received a legal letter from Netflix threatening defamation proceedings against him. Narcissists do not like to be criticised. Highly provocative narcissists can handle criticism as part of their shithousery. As I've explained, for instance, you might get a footballer that loves goading the opposition fans, and the fact that they call him loads of insults, although it's a threat to control, he readily dispenses with them and thrives on their angry reaction that he generates. He really relishes the provocation and knows that he's provoking, although he won't know, if he's an unaware narcissist, that he's doing that for the purpose of control and fuel, etc. This one's wife, although she provokes, she doesn't realise that she does so. Again, her narcissism doesn't tell her that that's what she's doing, and she isn't somebody that is described as a highly provocative narcissist, although provocation is one of the manipulations that she would use. For her, criticism is a problem. Any form of criticism that she faces is a threat to control. Although it provides her with fuel, she wants the pure positive fuel, admiration, adoration, adulation. And if you criticise her, then that's a problem. Accordingly, any form of criticism is either addressed directly, often indirectly, or by withdrawal, with her thinking, for instance, I'm not paying any attention to that nonsense. They're just racist haters. Or in some instances going on the attack, calling somebody a liar, or threatening legal proceedings against them. It was reported that Jameson Stocks had received this letter, and one would imagine that this one's wife decided to throw her weight around through the law by telling Netflix, you better sue him, you better take proceedings against him, and this is being done subconsciously to shut him up, to nullify the threat to control. Interestingly, Jacob Stolworthy, writing for The Independent, states, Netflix has denied issuing a celebrity chef with a legal warning for criticising This One's Wife's cookery show. Released last month, the critically mauled series, With Love Meghan, followed the Duchess of Sussex through her everyday life with Prince Harry as she cooks and hosts family members and friends. Jameson Stocks, a 41-year-old food connoisseur who once cooked for King Charles, hit out at the series, calling it terrible and hard to watch. On the 1st of May, the chef, who previously claimed he declined an offer to be part of the show, alleged that his anti-This One's Wife comments saw him receive a warning from Netflix. However, the streaming service has denied this allegation, with a spokesperson telling The Independent no legal letter was sent to Jameson Stocks from Netflix. Stocks told Mail Online, I got a lawyer's letter from Netflix after I spoke out against her, warning me. I proper pissed them off. Netflix did not like it and came after me. He doubled down on his criticism of This One's Wife. How can she get all this money from Netflix? I don't think she can cook, and I don't think she should be teaching people to cook either, he said. Stocks originally criticised the show on GB News on its release in March, admitting he'd been sceptical before it even went into production. I felt that even if she produced a really great programme, which I was quite sceptical of anyway, that I might get a little slammed for it, for being a part of it, he said. I didn't like the idea of me showing her how to do something, and then it kind of being forced and fake. I just felt if she's going to do something herself, she should do it herself. He urged This One's Wife to return to her former profession, stating, I think she should just go back to acting. She's quite a good actress in real life, or obviously on screen. I think people should stick to what they do best. Accordingly, he claims Netflix sent him a letter. Netflix says, oh no, we didn't. So what's going on? Well, there are a variety of possible outcomes here. First of all, Jameson Stocks is lying. He didn't get a legal letter. Netflix never instructed lawyers to write to him. It's a possibility, but it seems rather strange, doesn't it? Why would he bother about somebody that he has nothing to do with to claim that he's got a legal letter from Netflix? It makes no sense. He doesn't need the publicity. He's a chef in his own right. He's got his business. Accordingly, why bother to say something like that? And presumably, a copy of the letter had been shown to the Daily Mail when they reported on this. Therefore, whilst it's a possibility that a lie was told, it's unlikely. The second is Netflix are lying, that they did send him a legal letter but are now saying that they did not. If they did send a letter, it would be a rather foolish thing for Netflix to say, oh, we didn't. Why? Because the letter exists and all Stocks would need to do is produce a copy of the letter and make Netflix look very stupid. And whilst they've been somewhat stupid in signing up This One's Wife, one doesn't think they'd be so stupid as to suggest that they didn't send a letter when it actually exists. And therefore, that seems like it's somewhat unlikely. Therefore, if Stocks is right that he's received a letter, and Netflix are correct that they didn't issue one, then what's going on? If both Stocks and Netflix are telling the truth, this means Netflix didn't send a letter, but Jameson Stocks did receive a legal letter written on behalf of Netflix. Where would that come from? Well, one possibility might be that some deranged sugar has taken exception to Jameson Stocks' observations and therefore has cobbled together a letter that's written on behalf of Netflix, trying to frighten him. It's possible, although it does seem somewhat beyond the cognitive function of the average sugar. The alternative would be This One's Wife has done it. That either This One's Wife has got a lawyer to write a letter on behalf of Netflix, although I'd be surprised they would do that, because any lawyer would say, well, if I'm writing it on behalf of Netflix, I need somebody authorised by Netflix to give me instructions, and you're not. Therefore, it would seem more likely that This One's Wife herself has created a letter, sent it to Jameson Stocks, and made it seem that it's come from a law firm acting on behalf of Netflix. Again, it seems rather extraordinary that that would be the case, but given the fact that he's adamant that he's received a letter, a legal letter from Netflix, and Netflix are equally adamant that they never sent one, this must mean that somebody else has created the letter, which means that there is a forgery. Now, I don't think that a law firm that ordinarily that would act on behalf of Netflix, that one of the attorneys there suddenly thought, do you know what? I'll send a letter on behalf of Netflix to Jameson Stocks, telling him off and threatening defamation, even though Netflix haven't asked me to do so. The risk for that attorney could well be disbarment. Therefore, it would appear that somebody else has created the letter, and the main suspects would be a sugar or This One's Wife. It wouldn't be Harry because it would be in crayon, so we can discount it coming from him. Now, whilst there's no direct evidence that there is a forgery, if Jameson Stocks is right that he's received a letter and Netflix are right that they've never sent one, it must mean that somebody else has done. That is a logical conclusion. And the person who's got most to gain from doing so is, of course, This One's Wife. And furthermore, because the criticisms are a threat to her control, it would not be beyond the realms of possibility that she would go so far as to forge a letter to send to somebody telling them to shut up or you'll be sued. It might be the case that she had said to Netflix, you need to shut him up. I'm not standing for this. And Netflix said, we can't really threaten proceedings against a chef for expressing his opinion about the show. That's preposterous. Right, thought This One's Wife. getting into a huff. If you won't do it, I will. And therefore she's forged a letter. Remember, the narcissist is a creature of artifice, sowing illusions left, right and centre, and therefore the fabrication of a letter to seem as if it's come from a law firm representing Netflix being sent to James and Stocks to tell him he's defamed the show and for him to shut up or else, well, that wouldn't be too difficult for a narcissist to do, and furthermore is well within the realms of possibility of the activity of a narcissist. It's a rather strange state of affairs, but given what James and Stocks is saying and what Netflix is saying, either one of those parties is lying, which is easy to demonstrate because all one needs to do is produce the letter, and therefore it would seem rather strange if they were maintaining that was the case, and therefore it must be more logical that the letter exists. Stocks has received it, Netflix never authorised the sending of it, and somebody else has forged it, and overall, the most likely culprit would be this one's wife. Not least because of what she would stand to gain, but also as a narcissist, this is something that a narcissist could well do. What do you think in regard of this, valuable viewers? Do you think there is a forgery, or do you think somebody else is lying? And if it is a forgery, where do you think it's come from? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.